It continues to be a disappointment to see the direction that podcaster Joe Rogan is going in. I continue to say that this is not about any kind of like personal beef with Joe Rogan. As you know, I've been on his show twice. If he wanted me on again, I would be back on anytime. I would present him with every one of my concerns and critiques, and I'm sure we'd have a fine discussion about it. But some of this stuff just seems not good. And the problem is a lot of the guests just kind of go with it and foment these beliefs. Here are a couple of clips from Rogan's recent interview with Patrick Bet-David, on whose program I've also appeared. And Rogan says that the indictments of Trump are turning the country into a, quote, banana republic. This is a very disappointing direction to see Joe go in. Let's listen.
Yeah.
And the people that love Trump, they feel like this is a witch hunt. And they feel like all the things he's getting indicted for are bullshit anyway. Not only does it not work, but it kind of hardens their position that he's being targeted. And that these are like the actions of a banana republic.
And remember, with all of this language, he's being targeted. There's a difference between being unfairly targeted for no reason or because people don't like you versus he has become a target because of the apparently rampant criminal wrongdoing. These are two different things.
You take your political rival and you arrest him. And specifically, you charge him with things that you're guilty of. Like the documents, like the classified documents. Biden's guilty of the exact same issue.
Of course, he's not. And listen, I've been saying since day one, investigate Joe Biden. If you find crimes, present them to a grand jury. If the grand jury says he looks like he did it, go ahead and indict Joe Biden. But there is no way to compare Joe Biden's lawyer finding a few documents and immediately contacting the authorities and cooperating completely versus a concerted and deliberate effort by Donald Trump to take documents, to keep them, to obstruct directing lawyers to lie. There is no comparison. And Patrick Bet-David could have mentioned this to Joe Rogan if he knows it. But the environment foments this stuff from Rogan.
You gotta respect the level of deceptiveness that's been used. I mean, look at what Hillary did, going and saying, hey, it's Russia, but it was really, what she was doing. And now they're using a similar play as well.
How much election fraud do you think is real?
Here we go, Joe. You want to go to election fraud?
Yeah, because I don't think it's zero.
No,
it's not zero. I think we could all agree it's not zero.
No way it's not zero.
And we know that these voting machines can be f***ed with.
Yeah.
And we know that there's some irregularities, all that Kerry Lake stuff in Arizona that they're trying to dismiss. It doesn't look like that's invalid. It looks like there's real fraud there.
It looks completely invalid. It looks completely invalid. And again, I don't know if Joe doesn't know. I don't know if PBD doesn't know or doesn't care to mention it. The Kerry Lake fraud claims are ridiculous. And one red flag is that she lied about it every step of the way. If you have the facts on your side, if you're Kerry Lake and you want to argue, I actually won, not my opponent, you wouldn't have to constantly lie and say, the judge awarded us a victory today. It shows there was fraud. And then you go and it's like, the judge said that you can call a couple witnesses. That's all that happened. And then it immediately has no merit and is thrown out because it has no merit. Or all the machines were down indefinitely and nobody could vote. A few tabulators were down in one part of Arizona for a few hours. The Republican Party itself looked into it and said, we don't find the need to sue. We retract our lawsuit because it actually is not a concern, right? So it feels like there must be some real fraud. Give me a break, guys. This is just not serious. Then we get on to the economic situation. I won't even introduce one, but again, it's Joe Rogan on the U.S. economy, Trump versus Biden.
You can't beat that guy. You just can't. When that guy gets out there and he's waving to people and they're going crazy, you're not beating that. There's and the fact that he was the president for 4 years and the country was in a great economic situation, and it looked like his policies were actually effective, and that it looked like the unemployment was down, all business was building, regulations were being relaxed, more things were getting done. when you look at it from a policy perspective, if you just look at it on paper, what he did was effective.
Now, again, if you don't think this stuff through, it will rot your brain. The lowest that unemployment got under Trump was 3.5%. The lowest that it got under Biden was 3.4%. And it remained low under Biden for longer than under Trump. That's the metric he pointed to. Again, if you want to come to me and say, David, the average American is not doing well, or inequality, or all these different things, have at it. Have at. But he cites unemployment. The unemployment numbers are better under Biden. Stock market peak higher under Biden than Trump. Wage growth, average and peak, higher under Biden than Trump, reaching the 6s under Biden, only reached the 4s under Trump. So this is what I'm talking about. It's a lot of, it feels like sort of stuff. And I would love to go back and talk to Joe about this stuff and see what he has to say about the actual facts. Now, here's one last clip. Here's Rogan saying no one's going to beat Trump, at least not in the primary, which I agree with unless something crazy happens.
No one is going to run against Trump in the Republican side and win, because you're not going to get the Trump supporters. They are all in on Trump, unless he has a stroke, unless something happens that's horrible. They're all in on Trump. If you run against Trump, you're now the enemy of Trump. If I was friends with DeSantis, I'd be like, don't do it. You can't beat that guy. You just can't. When that guy gets out there and he's waving to people and they're going crazy, you're not beating that.
All right. So I basically agree with this. On this point, I believe Joe Rogan is right. On a lot of this other stuff, it's a lot of feelings and certainly not as many facts as I would like to see. It would be great if there were more voices talking to Joe recently that would maybe fact check some of this stuff in real time. I would love to see it. It doesn't have to be me. Let's see if it happens. We need to teach kids to think critically and independently, and we aren't doing a good enough job of it. I have a book right here that teaches kids critical thinking. I wrote this book, and it's available on Amazon at davidpakman.com/book. This is told through the story of a kid detective. The idea is critical thinking, thinking independently, is like solving a mystery. Getting clues, evaluating them, thinking through scenarios. The right knows that when kids think critically, they don't end up being Republicans when they're adults. And that's why they hate teaching kids critical thinking. This book alone won't solve the problem, but it will get kids interested. Get a copy, Kindle, paperback at davidpakman.com/book.